we want to find the field of a uniformly charged sphere, and this sphere has a positive charge of Q placed on it, and the charge is uniformly distributed throughout the volume of this insulating sphere. It's an insulating sphere, which means it's made of some kind of an insulating material like plastic, wood, etc. It is not a conductor. Now we want to find the field inside this sphere, and we want to find the field outside this sphere. Now once again we'll follow a particular sequence of steps that I've listed out over here, and we've used the same sequence to find the electric field due to an infinitely long charged wire, then due to an infinite sheet of charge, and due to a conducting sphere also. You can go through these other lessons, and because these are the different applications of Gauss's law. Okay, before we proceed further, let's just recall what is Gauss's law. Now, Gauss's law states that, let me just remove this. Gauss's law states that integral E dot dA over a closed surface, which means the total flux through a closed surface, is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed by that surface. Okay, now the first step is we need to draw the charge distribution and make an intuitive guess for the electric field. The charge is going to be uniformly distributed throughout the volume of this sphere, which is an insulating sphere. See, if you recall, in case of a conducting sphere, what we did was, suppose, let me just fill this up because it's a solid sphere. So in case of the conducting sphere, what we did was we drew the charges only at the surface of the sphere. There were no charges inside the sphere. That is because in a conductor the charges are free to move, and the charges are going to repel each other since these are like charges, and they're going to move away as far as possible. But in case of the charges are fixed, they cannot move. So this is how the charge will spread uniformly all throughout the volume of the insulating sphere, and an electric field will be present both inside and outside the sphere. Now, step 2 is to choose a Gaussian surface, and choosing a Gaussian surface means we need to find a surface on which we are going to use Gauss's law. See, there's no limitation or any specification for the closed surface. Absolutely any surface can be chosen as a Gaussian surface. You can have a completely arbitrary surface as a Gaussian surface. But the only thing is, it's going to make our job very tough, because calculating the integral over an arbitrary surface is very difficult. So the mathematical calculations become very long and tedious. So what we are doing in each case is we are choosing a Gaussian surface which will make our calculations easy, which will simplify our calculations. Now over here you can see that since the system is spherically symmetric, we will choose a spherical Gaussian surface. Now say we want to find the field at a point P, which is at a distance r, and the point is inside the charged sphere. So we'll choose a spherical Gaussian surface over here, and we'll just label this, we'll just call this as S1. So now step 2 is completed. We've chosen a suitable Gaussian surface, which over here is the sphere. The next step is we need to check if the electric field is perpendicular to the surface and if it is constant at the surface, or it should be 0. See, you know that the electric field over here is not going to be 0 for this surface. Now let us just check if it is constant and perpendicular to the surface. So if this is the surface of the sphere, we'll have the electric field at each point perpendicular to the surface of the sphere. The other thing is, each point on this sphere is at a fixed distance from the center of the sphere. So the value of E is going to be constant. So that's good. That means both these conditions are satisfied. So both these will help make our integration simple. So now you can see that we've done step 3. We've completed this. So the next step is to find the left hand side of Gauss's law. Finding the left hand side of Gauss's law means we find the total flux through the Gaussian surface, which is integral E dot dA. This can be written as integral E dA cos phi. We know that phi is 0 because the electric field is everywhere perpendicular to the surface. So if you take an area element, say this is an area element in this direction. So this is the direction of the area element, and the direction of the electric field is also the same. E is pointing in the same direction as the area element. So phi is going to be 0. Now this gives us integral E dA, and cos phi is going to be 1 since phi is 0. E is a constant at the Gaussian surface, so we take E outside the integral sign, and integral over the area elements gives us the total area of the sphere, which is 4 pi r square. Now this is the total flux through the Gaussian surface. Let's evaluate the right hand side. So let's first find the charge enclosed. You can see from the diagram over here that the charge which is present in this region is going to be the charge enclosed. So let's find the charge enclosed. We know that the total charge on the sphere is Q, and this charge is present in a sphere that has radius capital R. So the charge density or the charge per unit volume is Q over the volume of the sphere, which is 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now the charge enclosed, which we've shaded in yellow, is the charge which is present on a sphere of radius 4 by 3 pi r cube, which is the charge density times the volume, which is 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now for rho we can put Q over 4 by 3 pi r cube, capital R cube, and this is 4 by 3 pi small r cube, and so this gives us Q times r cube over r cube. Now this is the charge enclosed. Next is, so we found the LHS and the RHS, and we need to equate the two. Okay, so the total flux E into 4 pi r square is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q r cube by r cube, and this finally gives us the electric field E as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q over r cube times r, which means the electric field is proportional to r. You can see that this is a constant. The total charge on the sphere and the radius of the sphere itself are constants. So this shows that the electric field is proportional to r. Now let us find the field inside. We've already found the field inside. Now let us find the field outside, and then we'll plot the electric field versus the distance r. And now we'll find the field outside. To find the field outside, say we take a point P over here, which is at a distance r from the center of the sphere, and we'll take a spherical Gaussian surface which is concentric with the given sphere. Now for this Gaussian surface, we once again have integral E dot dA, and using the same explanation we can say that E is a constant, and integral over the area elements gives us the total surface area. Here the charge enclosed is the total charge Q, because the Gaussian surface encloses the entire charge Q. So putting this into Gauss's law, we get this equal to charge enclosed Q over epsilon naught, and this gives us the electric field outside the sphere as Q by 4 pi epsilon naught times 1 over r square. Now let's plot a graph that shows the variation of electric field with the distance r. This is r and this is E, and this is the radius capital R. See, in case of the electric field inside the sphere, it varies directly as r. So since it's a linear relation and it's directly proportional, you'll get a straight line graph. So it will be a straight line. This will be a straight line. Then at the surface of the sphere, the electric field is going to be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q over r cube times r, which comes out to be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q over r square. You can see that both these expressions are going to give us the same result, and that is the electric field at the radius, which is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q over r square. Now, as you move away from the sphere, the electric field is going to fall as with r as, as you move away from the sphere, the electric field is going to fall as 1 by r square. So the electric field falls off. The important difference, if you remember, with the conducting sphere is, inside the conducting sphere the electric field was 0, and outside it had a similar graph, because the field outside is as if the entire charge were concentrated at the center of the sphere. So you get the same field.